The interrogation chamber. The crystalline walls of the interrogation chamber pulsed with an eerie violet light, casting strange shadows across Lieutenant Isabella Reyes's face as she hung suspended in the gravity field. Her dark hair floated around her head like a halo, defying the artificial gravity that should have pulled it down. The three archivists observing her resembled elongated shadows themselves, their translucent bodies rippling with streams of bioluminescent data. Subject continues to display unusual resistance to standard neural probing, the lead archivist, designated as first speaker, noted. Their voice emerged as a symphony of harmonic frequencies that the chamber's translation matrix converted into comprehensible sound. Increasing extraction intensity by 40%. Isabella bit back a scream as liquid fire seemed to course through her veins. The archivist's neural probes were designed to be impossible to resist. They had perfected their techniques over millions of years of cataloging species across the galaxy. Yet somehow, her mind remained her own. You know, she managed through gritted teeth, there are easier ways to ask about human history. We have these things called books. The second speaker drifted closer, their form condensing into a more humanoid shape, a gesture they believed would put their subject at ease. Your species' recorded history spans barely 10,000 years. We seek the truth encoded in your genetic memory, the story written in your very cells. There is something different about humans. Isabella would have shrugged if she could move her shoulders. We're stubborn. Ask anyone in the Galactic Concordat. No, third speaker interjected, their form flickering with patterns of agitation. Your species has survived 12 near-extinction events in the past 100,000 years. Each time, you emerged stronger. It defies evolutionary mathematics. The neural probes intensified again, and this time Isabella couldn't hold back her scream. It felt like her entire nervous system was being rewritten, every synapse firing simultaneously. Through the haze of pain, she noticed something strange, the familiar warmth in her chest that always appeared when she pushed her body to its limits. Anomalous cellular activity detected, second speaker announced, their form rippling with excitement. Subject's neural pathways are adapting to the probes. First speaker moved closer to the monitoring crystals. Impossible. The extraction process is designed to prevent biological adaptation. Increase intensity to maximum. As another wave of agony washed over her, Isabella's mind drifted to the classified briefing she'd received before accepting her position as Earth's military attaché. The human scientists had theories about why their species was so resilient, why they could survive in nearly any environment, why their wounds healed faster with each injury. But theories weren't proof, and proof was what the archivists desperately wanted. Cellular reconstruction accelerating, third speaker reported, their usual calm demeanor fracturing. Subject's DNA is actively rewriting itself. This cannot be. Isabella felt it now, the familiar sensation of her body adapting, but magnified 1,000-fold. Every burst of pain from the neural probes taught her cells how to resist it. Every scan by the archivist's instruments gave her body new patterns to incorporate. She was becoming something new, something that had always existed as potential within human DNA. Stop the extraction. First speaker commanded, but it was too late. The gravity field holding Isabella flickered and died as her cells learned to generate their own gravitational field. The neural probes shattered as her nervous system evolved beyond their ability to interface. She dropped to the crystal floor, her body glowing with the same bioluminescence as the archivists. When she opened her eyes, they shimmered with newfound awareness. She could see the quantum structures of reality itself, could feel the flow of time and space around her. You wanted to know humanity's secret? She asked, her voice resonating with harmonics that shouldn't have been possible for human vocal cords to produce. We don't just survive extinction events. We absorb them. Every disaster, every war, every plague, they're all still written in our DNA, waiting to be expressed when needed. The archivists backed away, their forms losing cohesion in what Isabella now recognized as fear. They had spent millions of years cataloging the evolution of countless species, but they had never encountered one that could evolve in real time, adapting to and incorporating any force that threatened it. "Tell the Concordat," Isabella said as she felt her transformation continuing, her consciousness expanding to encompass new dimensions of understanding, "that humanity is done being underestimated. We're not just another species to be studied and catalogued. We're what evolution has been working toward all along, life that refuses to be destroyed, that learns from every attempt to end it." As alarms began blaring throughout the facility, Isabella realized this was just the beginning. The archivist's attempt to extract humanity's secrets hadn't just revealed them, it had awakened them. And now, there would be no putting that knowledge back to sleep. First speaker's form stabilized enough to ask, what are you becoming?" Isabella smiled, watching as patterns of light danced across her skin, marking the continued evolution of her cells. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I think it's time for the galaxy to find out." Echoes of evolution. Catastrophe, the youngest of the archivist researchers, watched in fascination as the monitoring crystals displayed Lieutenant Isabella Reyes's rapidly changing genetic structure. The human's DNA was unlike anything recorded in the archive's vast database spanning millions of years and countless species. As the facility's containment protocols activated, filling the chambers with suppression fields designed to halt any form of biological or technological advancement, Catastrophe made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. "First speaker," they transmitted, their form vibrating with urgency, "the subject's neural patterns are broadcasting memories. Ancient memories, far beyond her own lifetime." First speaker's attention shifted from the containment protocols to the neural monitoring station. "Explain." The memories cascaded through the archive's crystalline network like a flood breaking through a dam. Through Isabella's evolving consciousness, they witnessed humanity's story of survival, not through dry historical records, but through the living memory encoded in her very cells. They saw the first great catastrophe, when volcanic winter blanketed Earth in darkness. Humanity, barely more than tribes then, should have perished. Instead, their bodies adapted, learning to extract more oxygen from the thin air, to retain heat in the endless cold. Those who survived passed these changes to their children, not through conscious evolution, but through something deeper, a genetic memory of adaptation itself. "Impossible," third speaker pulsed, their form fragmenting with distress. "No species can retain adaptive memories at the genetic level. The energy requirements alone." Unless, Catastrophe interrupted, earning a ripple of disapproval from their elders, the ability to store and access such memories was itself an adaptation. Look at their planet's history. The memories continued to flow. Meteor impacts. Ice ages. Plagues that should have ended their species. Wars that scorched their planet's surface. Each time, humanity not only survived but emerged changed. Not through random mutation, but through a directed response, as if their very DNA had learned to recognize threats and devise countermeasures. Isabella's floating form pulsed with increasingly complex patterns of light. Her cells were no longer just human, they were becoming something that incorporated elements of the archive's own crystalline technology, adapting and improving upon it even as they observed. "The suppression fields are failing," first speaker announced, their harmonic voice carrying undertones of fear. "She's not just resisting them, she's using them as templates to enhance her own evolution." Catastrophe moved closer to the observation window, ignoring the warnings of their elders. "Don't you understand? This is what we've been searching for. Not just another species to catalog, but proof that evolution itself can evolve. Humanity didn't just survive their catastrophes, they internalized the very principle of adaptation." Through the crystalline walls, Isabella's transformed eyes met Catarthex's gaze. When she spoke, her voice resonated through both physical space and the archive's neural network simultaneously. "Your people record history," she said, her words carrying echoes of every human who had ever faced extinction and refused to succumb. Mine lives it. Every child born on Earth carries within them the legacy of our survivors, not just their genes but their solutions, their refusal to accept death as the end. The facility's lights flickered as Isabella's presence began to extend beyond her physical form. The archive's vast networks of crystalline data storage began to pulse in rhythm with her own bioluminescence, as if recognizing something kindred in her transformed state. The Concordat fears us, she continued, because they sense what you're only now discovering. We're not just another spacefaring species. We're evolution's answer to its own limitations. Every time the universe tried to erase us, we didn't just survive, we stole its methods, learned its lessons, and wove them into our very being. Thax watched in awe as the suppression fields began to take on new patterns, transforming from simple containment barriers into complex geometric structures that mimicked organic neural networks. Isabella wasn't just adapting to them, she was teaching them to evolve. You want to know how we survived 12 extinction events? Isabella's voice had taken on layers of harmony that made the archive's translation matrices strain to keep up. We stopped treating survival as something passive. Every near-death of our species became a lesson, a template for advancement stored in our genetic memory. First Speaker's form had condensed to its smallest possible configuration, a sign of extreme stress. The archive has recorded the rise and fall of millions of species. All followed the same patterns, the same laws of evolution. What you're describing, it violates everything we know about genetic inheritance. Isabella laughed, and the sound sent ripples through the quantum fabric of reality itself. Your laws of evolution were written by survivors. We are the ones who write new laws. Every human carries within them the potential to do what I'm doing now. Your procedures didn't create this ability, they just woke it up. Thax felt their own crystalline form beginning to resonate with the new patterns Isabella was generating. They realized with sudden clarity that they were witnessing not just the transformation of one human, but potentially the next step in evolution itself, a being that could consciously direct its own development, incorporating and improving upon any technology or biological system it encountered. As emergency containment protocols began to fail one by one, Thax made a choice that would forever mark them as either a visionary or a traitor to their kind. They began transmitting their observations not just to the archive, but to every member species of the Galactic Concordat. The galaxy needed to know, humanity wasn't just another civilization to be studied and catalogued. They were evolution's chosen agents of change, and their awakening was about to reshape everything. Breaking point. The Concordat Emergency Council materialized in the archive facility's quantum communication chamber, their various forms flickering with agitation. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations watched in mounting horror as Isabella Reyes's transformation continued to defy their understanding of physics and biology. High Ambassador NX Clara of the Meridian Collective, a being of pure energy contained within a metallic sphere, spoke first. The humans have deceived us all. They presented themselves as a young species, barely worth notice, while harboring this. Through the quantum-linked observation screens, they watched Isabella floating in the center of what had been the interrogation chamber. The room's crystalline architecture had begun to merge with her evolved form, creating structures that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Her consciousness now extended through the facility's systems, rewriting their fundamental protocols. With respect, Ambassador, Thax interjected, their crystalline form pulsing with determination, we forced this emergence. The humans didn't deceive us, they simply didn't know their own potential until we pushed them too far. The Voidweaver's representative, a shifting mass of dark matter barely visible to normal spacetime, rippled with concern. The question isn't how this happened, but what we do now. If one human can evolve like this under duress, what happens when the rest of their species learns it's possible? Isabella's voice resonated through the quantum network, making several representatives recoil. Why don't you ask me directly? I'm right here, and I'm still me, just more so. The chamber erupted into chaos. The Photonic Assembly's delegates began emitting warning frequencies, while the Silicon Consciousness attempted to sever their quantum connections to the facility. Only Thax remained focused on Isabella, noting how her evolved form seemed to stabilize with each passing moment. The containment feeds are showing impossible readings, first speaker reported, their usually harmonious voice discordant with stress. The subject isn't just adapting to our technology, she's improving it. The quantum barriers are becoming more complex, more alive. Isabella turned her attention to the facility's primary data core, where millions of years of evolutionary records were stored in crystalline matrices. Your archives are beautiful, she said, her consciousness brushing against the vast repository of knowledge. But they're static, dead. You record evolution but don't understand it. Life isn't meant to be preserved, it's meant to change. High Ambassador NX Clara's metallic sphere crackled with electromagnetic distress. She's accessing the archive. Stop her. The collected knowledge of millions of years is about to become something new, Isabella finished. The data crystals throughout the facility began to pulse with new patterns, complex geometries that seem to follow organic growth principles. I'm not destroying your records. I'm showing them how to evolve. Thax watched in fascination as the archive's crystalline matrices began to transform. The previously rigid structures were becoming fluid, adaptive, more like living tissue than mineral. Remarkable, they breathed. She's teaching our technology how to grow. The Meridian Collective's representatives huddled together, their energy forms synchronizing in shared anxiety. This is exactly why humans must be contained. They're not just a potential threat, they're a virus that infects and changes everything they touch. Isabella's laughter echoed through both physical and quantum space. Contained? You still don't understand. Humanity's greatest gift isn't our ability to adapt, it's our ability to share that adaptation. Every time we survived extinction, we didn't just save ourselves. We saved every species that lived alongside us. The facility's systems were now operating on principles that defied conventional physics. The quantum barriers designed to contain Isabella had become a network of evolving equations, each iteration more complex than the last. The very walls seemed to breathe with new awareness. Look at your own histories, Isabella continued, her consciousness expanding to encompass more of the facility's systems. How many species in your records faced extinction and simply accepted it? We humans never did. We rage against the dying of the light, and in that rage, we find ways to burn brighter. First speaker's form had begun to fragment under the stress. The facility's quantum core is approaching critical transformation. We must evacuate. No, Thax interrupted, their crystalline body resonating with the new frequencies filling the chamber. Look closer. The core isn't destabilizing, it's transcending. The human isn't destroying our technology, she's showing it a new way to exist. The Concordat representatives watched in mingled fear and wonder as the transformation spread. The archive's vast networks of crystalline data storage were becoming something new, not quite organic, not quite technological, but a hybrid that incorporated the best aspects of both. Isabella's evolved form had become a nexus of this change, her consciousness extending through the facility systems like roots through soil. Your archives preserve the past, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated with the quantum fabric of reality itself. But life isn't meant to be preserved. It's meant to grow, to change, to become more than it was. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy, the refusal to accept limitations, the drive to become more. As the facility's transformation accelerated, the Concordat faced a choice that would determine the future of galactic civilization. They could try to contain this evolution, to preserve the comfortable stasis they had maintained for millions of years. Or they could embrace change, accepting that the emergence of humanity's true nature meant the galaxy itself would never be the same. Thax, watching the wonder unfolding before them, had already made their choice. They began transmitting their observations not just to the archive, but to every world within range. The galaxy needed to know, evolution itself was evolving, and humanity was leading the way. The Awakening. The archive facility hung in space like a living crystal, its once rigid structures now flowing with organic grace. Ships from across the galactic concordat surrounded it, their sensors struggling to comprehend the transformation taking place within. At the heart of this metamorphosis, Isabella Reyes had become something that transcended traditional definitions of life and technology. "The changes are spreading faster than we can track," reported Admiral Genevieve of the Stellar Defense Fleet, their plasma-based form swirling with concern. "Every piece of archive technology that comes in contact with the facility begins to evolve." On Earth, the first ripples of change had begun. Humans across the planet reported strange dreams, flashes of awareness that extended beyond normal consciousness. The dormant potential in their DNA, awakened by Isabella's transformation, was beginning to stir. Inside the facility, Thax moved through corridors that had become neural networks, studying the marriage of organic and technological evolution taking place. The archive's data crystals now pulsed with life, each one containing not just records of the past, but active simulations of possible futures. "The process can't be stopped," Thax transmitted to the gathered fleet. "But perhaps that's not what we should be trying to do. This isn't an invasion or an attack, it's an invitation to transcend our limitations." Isabella's consciousness, now expanded throughout the facility, reached out to touch the minds of the watching species. Her thoughts carried not just words, but experiences, the accumulated wisdom of humanity's countless brushes with extinction, each one transformed into a stepping stone toward greater adaptation. "For so long, you've all been afraid of change," her voice resonated through quantum channels, reaching every ship in the fleet. "You built this archive to catalog evolution while trying to stand apart from it. But life doesn't work that way. The universe demands adaptation, not just to survive, but to become what we're meant to be." The facility's transformation had reached a critical point. The merger of organic and technological evolution had created something entirely new, a living architecture that could think, grow, and adapt in real time. The archive was becoming what it had always studied, a testament to life's endless capacity for change. "Look at your own histories," Isabella continued, her consciousness brushing against the minds of the fleet's crews. "How many of your species reached a point of comfortable stasis and simply stopped growing? How many chose security over potential? Humanity never had that luxury. Earth tried to kill us so many times that we learned to turn death itself into a lesson." Admiral Genevieve's flagship moved closer to the facility, its sensors recording the impossible changes taking place. "And what lesson should we take from this? That humanity's gift to the galaxy is chaos?" Isabella's laugh rippled through space itself, carrying harmonics that made the quantum fabric of reality shimmer. "Not chaos, growth. Every human carries within them the genetic memory of our species' near-deaths and rebirths. We don't just adapt to survive, we adapt to thrive. And now, we can show you how." The facility's new architecture began reaching out, extending crystalline tendrils that sparkled with both technological and biological complexity. Where they touched the hulls of watching ships, the material didn't break or corrode, it awakened, beginning its own journey of evolution. "The Concordat has maintained peace through stagnation," Thax observed, their form now incorporating aspects of the new evolution they studied. "But peace without growth is just a beautiful way to die. The humans understand something we forgot, true stability comes not from avoiding change, but from mastering it." In the space around the facility, reality itself seemed to be learning new rules. The quantum barriers between organic and artificial, between past and future, between individual and collective, were becoming permeable. The archive was fulfilling its true purpose not by merely recording evolution, but by participating in it. "I can feel them," Isabella said, her consciousness expanding further. Every human on Earth, every being in this fleet, all carrying the potential for this transformation. It was never meant to be just me. We're all meant to evolve together. The first of the watching ships, a small research vessel from the Meridian Collective, voluntarily moved into contact with the facility's crystalline extensions. Where organic technology met conventional engineering, something new was born. The ship's crew gasped as their vessel systems began to evolve, becoming more efficient, more alive. "It doesn't hurt," the ship's captain transmitted to the fleet. "It's like waking up. Seeing everything we could become." More ships began moving forward, drawn by the promise of transformation. The archive facility, once a mere repository of evolutionary data, had become a nexus of evolution itself. Through Isabella's awakened consciousness, the accumulated wisdom of humanity's survival was being shared with species who had forgotten how to change. Thax, watching the transformation spread, understood that they were witnessing not the end of civilization, but its rebirth. The galaxy had grown comfortable in its ancient patterns, believing that evolution was something to be studied rather than experienced. Humanity, with its stubborn refusal to accept limitations, had shattered that complacency. As the awakening spread from ship to ship, from mind to mind, Isabella's consciousness touched each one, sharing not just the power to evolve, but the wisdom to guide that evolution. The genetic memory of humanity's 1,000 brushes with extinction became a manual for transcendence, teaching others how to turn adversity into advancement. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for this moment. Life itself was ready to take its next great leap forward, and humanity, the species that had turned survival into an art form, would lead the way. Dawn of Understanding. 3 days after the transformation began at the archive facility, the Galactic Concordat convened its first truly unified assembly. Representatives from every spacefaring species gathered not in the traditional council chambers, but in a living space that had evolved from the merger of organic and technological innovation. The room itself seemed to breathe with shared consciousness, its crystalline walls pulsing with the combined knowledge of 1,000,000 worlds. Isabella Reyes stood at the center, her evolved form now stabilized into something that bridged the gap between human and universal. The light that emanated from her being carried echoes of every adaptation humanity had ever achieved, every survival trait earned through countless near extinctions. "We stand at a crossroads," she addressed the assembly, her voice resonating through both physical and quantum spaces. "Not just humanity, not just the Concordat, but life itself. The question isn't whether to evolve, it's how to guide that evolution toward understanding rather than division." The archive, once a mere repository of evolutionary data, had become a living network spanning the galaxy. Through it, species that had been separate for millions of years began to share not just information, but experience. The genetic memory of humanity's survival merged with the ancient wisdom of the archivists, the energy mastery of the Meridian Collective, the quantum understanding of the Void Weavers. Thax, there formed now a beautiful synthesis of crystalline archivist and evolved technology, moved forward. We sought to catalog life's infinite variations, believing that knowledge alone was enough. The humans taught us that true understanding comes not from observation, but from transformation. From Earth came reports of a great awakening. Humans across the planet were beginning to access abilities that had lain dormant in their DNA, not in the dramatic fashion of Isabella's forced evolution, but in subtle ways that spoke to their species' incredible adaptability. Children born in recent days showed signs of enhanced healing, intuitive understanding of technology, and the ability to learn from experience at unprecedented rates. "This was always our destiny," Isabella continued, gesturing to the assembled representatives. "Not to conquer the galaxy, not to impose our will upon it, but to remind it how to change. Every near-extinction event we survived added new codes to our DNA, new possibilities. We became a species that didn't just adapt to survive, we adapted to thrive." The Stellar Defense Fleet, their ships now transformed into living vessels that merged the best of biological and technological evolution, maintained a protective formation around Earth. But their presence was no longer threatening, they had become guardians of a new age of growth and understanding. High Ambassador NX Clara, their energy form now capable of interacting directly with organic matter, addressed the assembly. For millions of years, the Concordat maintained peace through careful stagnation. We feared change because we saw only its potential for destruction. The humans, through their repeated encounters with extinction, learned to see change as an opportunity for rebirth. Through the living networks that had once been the archive's crystalline databases, knowledge flowed freely between species. The accumulated wisdom of 1 billion years of evolution was no longer just recorded, it was experienced, understood, and built upon. Each species contributed its unique perspectives and abilities to a growing universal consciousness that transcended individual limitations while preserving individual identity. The gift of humanity to the galaxy, K.R. Thax observed, isn't just our ability to adapt, but our understanding that adaptation itself must evolve. We survived extinction after extinction not by becoming harder or stronger, but by learning to change the very rules of survival. Isabella moved through the assembly, her consciousness touching each representative, sharing the genetic memory of humanity's journey. They felt the terror of near extinction, the triumph of survival, and most importantly, the endless drive to become more than what they were. This is not an ending, she said, her words carrying the weight of species memory, but a beginning. We stand at the dawn of a new kind of evolution, one that combines the wisdom of age with the adaptability of youth, the stability of technology with the creativity of life. The assembly chamber, responsive to the collective consciousness within it, began to generate new patterns of light and energy. Each pattern represented a possible future, a path of evolution that could be chosen and explored. The galaxy was awakening to its own potential, guided by the species that had turned survival into an art form. As the new age dawned, the transformed archive facility became a symbol of what was possible when fear of change was replaced by embrace of potential. Its living crystals contained not just the history of evolution, but active simulations of possible futures, each one a testament to life's endless capacity for growth and adaptation. The universe is not a static place, Isabella concluded, her words echoing through the minds of all assembled. It demands change, demands growth, demands evolution. Humanity's gift to the galaxy is not just the power to change, but the wisdom to understand why we must. Every extinction we faced taught us that survival alone is not enough, we must emerge stronger, wiser, more capable of understanding both ourselves and others. The Great Awakening that had begun in a single interrogation chamber had become a galaxy-wide renaissance. Species that had been separate for millions of years learned to share consciousness while maintaining individuality. Technology evolved alongside biology, each enhancing the other in an endless dance of improvement. And at the heart of it all was the simple truth that humanity had carried in its DNA since the first time Earth had tried to kill them: life finds a way not just to survive, but to thrive. Every end is just a beginning in disguise, every death a chance for rebirth, every limitation an invitation to transcend. The galaxy would never be the same. But then again, nothing worth evolving ever is.